Behavioral science is a map of islands. We analyze human experience through isolated lenses, ignoring the dynamic flow of energy connecting neurons to global societies. Psychology focuses on learning and belief. Neuroscience tracks discrete amygdala circuits. Sociology observes the movements of groups. These fields study the same subject, yet they lack a shared language to describe how information actually moves between them. The Brain Kinematics model, or BKM, is an attempt to create that shared language by treating social interaction as a problem of physics. At its core, this model suggests that social behavior is the result of a continuous strain exchange, a constant transfer of tension between interacting neural networks. Focusing on the movement and regulation of this strain lets us analyze human behavior using the same systems theory applied to complex physical networks. To measure this, BKM defines the fundamental unit of interaction as a strain package. This is a specific packet of energy or information that creates an imbalance in the person receiving it. These take forms like financial imbalances, the load of a deceptive statement, or the pressure of power hierarchies. When you receive one of these inputs, your internal strain load shifts. Your neural system must then decide how to process that imbalance to maintain stability. Unlike traditional models that focus on abstract emotions, BKM treats these interactions as measurable perturbations in a physical system. This shift allows us to move past subjective descriptions and look at the actual metabolic and structural costs required for a person to stay social. Every interaction follows a strain arc. It begins when an external social strain package enters the system, creating an imbalance. This hits the limbic centers first. The amygdala acts as an emotional amplifier. The strain's amplitude increases, turning observation into a high-priority signal. The prefrontal cortex then strives to integrate this signal, applying regulatory feedback to stabilize the wave and lower internal tension. Finally, the result is stored in the hippocampus as a structural attractor, a memory motif determining how the brain reacts to future strain. Behavioral output, whether that's a spoken word, a gesture, or a choice to walk away, is essentially the exhaust of this internal resolution process. What we perceive as personality is often just the visible evidence of a system trying to balance its internal energy. This chart plots social strain on the x-axis against behavior performance on the y-axis. At low strain, performance is weak. As strain increases, we reach the optimal peak, S0. But as load rises, the system moves through overload and into the breakdown region. A phase mismatch occurs when an incoming strain package exceeds the system's regulatory capacity. For shyness, the sensitivity variable K increases, steepening the curve and shifting the optimal peak left. The system now reaches breakdown under very small amounts of social load. Because the curve is so steep, even a standard greeting can push the system past its peak and into a state of high anxiety. This same mechanical failure explains why people often struggle to speak or freeze up in large social gatherings. When the limbic system amplifies strain faster than the prefrontal cortex can regulate it, the excess tension disrupts the timing of the motor speech circuits. Social dysfunctions, then, are not character flaws. They are predictable instances where a system's load has exceeded its capacity to maintain regulation. BKM introduces the Sociality Power Behavior Index, or SPBI, using 6 dimensions to map how a person processes social strain. The sensitivity axis maps to the K variable on our performance curve, while regulation capacity determines how wide the optimal zone remains under pressure. One of the most critical dimensions is the TCI, the Trust and Cooperation Index. In BKM, trust is not just a feeling, it is a stabilized, low-friction coupling between two people. When two neural systems sync up, they create a phase-locked waveform that makes interaction nearly effortless. This coupling is a massive metabolic advantage, reducing the energy cost of predicting what the other person will do next. But trust is fragile. A single act of deception introduces a strain spike that instantly destabilizes the phase-locked waves. Because it minimizes the cost of social processing, the ability to build and maintain this TCI dimension is the true engine of group performance. It's important to remember that an SPBI profile isn't a life sentence. It is a dynamic snapshot that changes across different scales of time. We can track these changes using a simple equation. Your profile at any given time is the sum of G plus D of T plus S of T. The G represents your genetic baseline, the hardware that sets your natural sensitivity to social inputs and threat detection. D of T is your developmental architecture. This represents the years of learned pathways and memory attractors that define your capacity to regulate strain. Finally, S of T is the situational strain, the immediate pressure of the environment you are in right now. Understanding these three variables allows us to target specific issues. Therapy works on the developmental architecture, while environmental design can be used to lower the situational strain. These mechanics don't stop at the individual. The same strain arcs that govern a single conversation scale upward to define teams, institutions, and entire societies. We can view society not as a collection of personalities, but as a vast field of interacting strain gradients, constantly seeking a state of equilibrium. By linking neurobiology and behavior through a system of measurable variables, BKM provides a way to look at our social health as a matter of systemic efficiency. Social capability isn't about charm or habit. It is the mechanical ability to manage, transform, and stabilize the exchange of energy between people across time.